Well, happy Friday, everyone. Dwayne Martins checking in with you. And we are going to talk about checking your attitude before you come home or at the door. Nancy reminded me when I told her about the post I was going to do tonight. I was speaking at a wedding several years ago for my niece. And hi, Mike. Thanks for tuning in, Buddy Rowe. Talking about checking your attitude at the door before you come home for the evening. So it was in this wedding several years ago for my niece, and I remember visiting with the couple before they got married, and they were talking about some of the things that happened during the planning. And when the gal would come in, I'm trying to avoid saying her name, but when she would come in and her husband, fiance at the time, could tell that she was having an attitude or struggling with some things, he'd say, check your attitude at the door. And it would break her out of that. It would remind her that, oh yeah, I need to watch that. And I'm telling you that works. There's so many of us that, hey, Brother Bob was just talking about a wedding that I was talking in a few years ago, and when you rewind it, you'll know which wedding I'm talking about in your family. Anyway, so many of us, you spend all day out there, and a lot of you are in the public, so you're a lot of times fed up with people by the time you come home. And this is just a reminder for us to come home and remember that your house is your safe haven. And it's the place that you come back for the evening to get your batteries recharged. And a lot of times, and we all know people that do this, you come home and you're most rude to the people who you love the most and who love you the most. So you need to be careful of that, and you consciously have to decide. I remember when I sold manufactured modular homes, I did that for about 7 years. I drove 208 miles a day back and forth from Yellowstone out into Montana. And I remember consciously saying to myself, when I would swing the gate to close the store at night, I'm done here. I mean, I would close that gate and try to leave all of my problems and the things that went on at work. Because when you're at work, you need to be at work focused on work. When you come home, you need to be at home focused on what matters to you most, which is your family and the people that love you. And some of us put on our turd suit when we come home. And you've been nicey to people all day long, and then you come home and you have your turd suit on, and you're nasty to the people that love you the most. And I'm telling you, I know with us that we talk about this all the time with Nancy and I, that she is the thermostat of the house. So if she comes home and has a bad day or in a bad mood or any of that stuff, it affects me, just like when I come home in that same way. So you need to consciously try to leave that stuff alone. I remember reading The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale a long time ago. It's a really old book, but classic. And he talked about at the end of the day that he would leave his office, tear the day off for the calendar, wad it up, and drop it in the waste paper basket. End of the day, he is done. Yes, your sister, Bob. So it's just, you've got to consciously make an effort to check your attitude at the door. And is your attitude worth catching? Do you want to come home and spread all that nastiness, or are you going to refresh, get your batteries charged? And remember, you're in charge of what goes on at your own house. And especially that all flows into our kids' life and everything. And you've heard me say before that more is caught than taught. So they are watching, and people are watching, and your kids especially, on what you do versus what you say. So that's the message for tonight, is just check your attitude at the door. Is yours worth catching? And are you treating people that you love the way you should love them? Remember several weeks ago I told you about the new planner that I was using, and one of the questions they ask you for the day is, who needs me on my A game today? And your answer for a lot of those days will be my spouse. My spouse needs me on my A game today. And it's going to make things much happier at home. And if you're a guy, you've heard the phrase, happy wife, happy life. There's a true story to that, isn't it, Brother Bob? So anyway, have an awesome night. And just remember to consciously check your attitude at the door. Ask yourself, is it worth catching? All of us are entitled to a little bit of a bad day now and again, or a few hours of a bad day. But just don't live your life like that and be an old cranky butt, wham baby pissy pants at the end of the day for the whole night. So thanks for tuning in. Love you guys, and we will talk to you tomorrow. Have a great weekend.